Okay, well, welcome to the 8-1 video, guys. I'm going to keep this really short and sweet because we pretty much went over this in class today, and you probably already read it. But just so that you have a record to look back to if you want to review these things, I wanted to get a video up tonight on 8-1. And the name of the lesson is pretty much everything. It's the points, lines, segments, and rays section. And so what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about these four things, and we're going to talk about the definitions for them and the notation for them. So let's start with point. A point is usually referred to with a capital letter, and we just usually draw a dot to represent a point. It's just an exact location. The dot is not actually a perfect representation because the dot, if you zoomed in on it, actually is like a little miniature circle. But somewhere in the middle of that dot is supposed to be an exact point. Now, if I have 2 points, let's put a point over here. Okay. Now I can talk about connecting them. Now, if I connect them with a piece of a line that goes from one point to the other and then stops, that's called a segment. It's called, actually, the real name for it is a line segment. And the notation for it will, you put the 2 letters down, the capital letters that it starts and stops at, A and B, and you put a bar over top of it. So basically, the symbol looks just like the actual segment. Now, if on the other hand, I have points A and B, and I go to B and I keep going through it, then this is called a ray. And the notation for that is A, B, and an arrow pointing that says I start at A and I go through B. Now, if I use the same 2 points, let's actually switch colors here, and I start at B and I go through A, then that would be called ray BA, and it actually always points, this notation always points, I think it's a bad way to show it, it always points to the right. Okay, so if I happen to be drawing something that actually draws going to the left, I still start with the first point B, and I point through A, and I keep on going. And that's called a ray. Okay, so basically a segment that's stretched out in one direction is a ray. Now if I go in both directions, then obviously I get a line. So again, take either the segment above or the ray above, and just extend in both directions, and that's a line. Okay, and the notation for that is just like a segment. You put down the 2 letters, but this time, instead of putting a bar on the top, you put a little line on the top. That literally is it. So, you will see AB with a bar, that's a segment, AB with a single arrow, that's a ray, and AB with 2 arrows, and that's a line. If you see A comma B, we're referring to 2 points. And I'm going to throw one more thing in. It's not really in your book. But if you see AB without a comma, this thing right here is a number. And what it does is it represents how far it is between the points A and B. Or another way to think of it, it's the length of the segment. Okay, now when we're talking about lines or segments or rays, we can also talk about them either being intersecting, which means they cross, or we can talk about them being parallel, which means they never cross. At least if we're in 2 dimensions, those are my only 2 choices. Either a pair of lines is going to be crossing, intersecting, or they're going to be parallel. Now in 3 dimensions, if I were to take this line and lift it up off the screen, okay, they'd clearly not be parallel lines, but they wouldn't be intersecting either, because whatever distance you pick the blue line up will separate the 2 lines. So we call those skew. It's kind of hard to draw skew lines in 2 dimensions. I'll show you some tricks in class, but that's pretty much it for now. Okay. Well, that's it. We will pick up with this video in class tomorrow, most likely, because it went up kind of late, and I do apologize for that. But it's pretty much everything that you should have got out of the book. So make sure that you got those A problems done from lesson A1, numbers 1 through 21 all, I believe. And then also make sure that you finished the second page of your cumulative review sheet, unless you weren't here, in which case finish the whole review sheet. Okay, I should be back and see you all in class tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.